Oh,
Um, yeah, so I think so I guess we can talk about I have a
yeah.
few more things I want to talk about. I know I posted on my story about the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
He actually is not submitting any more of his music for consideration for the Grammys. I know he was, I think it was the, was it, no, it wasn't this year's Grammys. I think it was the Grammys 2021
Yeah.
where
I
his
mean,
last, yeah, because that album came out, I believe, in 2019 or 2020. Um, so, and that was around the time when his album would have been nominated for the 2021 Grammys. And I know that album, now I don't know that much about The Weeknd's music. I like some of his songs. I know I like Blinding Lights because it reminded me of the 80s, you know. And so I really like that song. But I know the album, he was really, really ticked off because, you know, I think the Grammys, like they snubbed him basically. So he was ticked off about it. And so now, you know, it's Grammy season coming up. He said, you know, he's not going to allow his label to submit his now album for consideration again because he's done with the Grammys basically. So, yeah, I'm gonna let you. What do you think about that?
well, I'm a fan of the weekend. Like, okay, I wouldn't say this weekend, no pun intended. This, like, I come from the beginning, the
Mhm.
House of Balloons, Echoes of Silence, Thursday, like that era, like when he first
Mhm.
came out. I would tell my mom when I hear his music in the store, I said, "Mom, I remember every time I used to campaign for this guy. He used to make fun of me, say he's this, he's trash. Now everybody's a fan of him now, like always. But like I get, because it's like people that win these awards, like how I don't know how they do it. Cause I know I don't listen to this guy's music. I know Kodak Black was mad about some stuff about the BET Awards about like how he get why Lotto won. Like yo, but my if you look at my numbers are a little bit higher than hers.
Mhm.
I should have won. Like, everybody, yeah, he should have won. They gave it to her off of. He feels like they gave that award off of this, and I'm like, I ain't got nothing to say about that, but I guess I get your frustration. But when it comes to these awards, it's like it goes back to South by Southwest and stuff. Like, how are these artists that you got, like, how did they get on? How did they get that position? Like, how did
Mhm.
this dude sold how many copies, how many streams, but this person won? Like, how did this stuff work? Like, I don't get that. So I would understand, like, I'm getting snubbed every year. I don't want to. I'm not going to submit my music because I know I deserve it. So I don't
Yeah.
understand. Maybe you can explain. I don't know how they. I don't know how they go about it. How they go about the
Well,
picking of the winners.
yeah. Well, I know some of the Grammy voting members. Um, I don't know them personally, but I know of a lot of the Grammy voting members, and I'm not going to say too much on that, but I guess I see. I'm gonna just come out and say it, not in a controversial way, but I know of some of the Grammy voting members, and I can see why certain artists get selected every time they release an album. It's like, okay, we know who's gonna win. We know who's gonna win album of the year. We know who's gonna win the biggest one of them all, record of the year. We know who's gonna we know this by now because we've been seeing a trend over the last I don't know how many years,
Man,
you know. And so looking at some of the Grammy voting members, I see why certain artists keep winning and why certain artists keep getting snubbed. I feel like at this point it's a popularity contest
yeah,
um, within the industry. Like when I watched the Grammys growing up, it was my favorite artist. It'd be like Destiny
man,
Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and all these other artists from that era. I mean, those some of those artists are still making music, but like it was a lot of artists and other artists like the Mariah Careys and the all these like big time artists, Whitney Houston, and so that's when music was music.
yeah,
That's when the Grammys. I felt like had more integrity, if you would, because the last Grammy Award that I watched was 2021. And when I saw what Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion was doing on stage together, I was like, wait, what? I don't know if you remember their performance together. And I was like, why are they allowing this? This is literally like,
Yeah.
I mean, kids are watching this, I'm sure, because we watched the Grammys as kids, so I'm pretty sure there are kids who want to be artists one day, and they're seeing this two women in a certain act together. It's like, are you serious?
It draws ratings. And it goes back to what you said about popularity contests. I'm like, I remember back in the day, like, especially there was an era. Y'all gotta understand. Me and Nicole come from a different era. We come from the '90s. MTV Music Award, MTV Video Music Award, MTV VH1 Music Awards. All these award shows. BET back when the BET Awards was a thing.
Yeah.
Nicole, you remember 2000?
I remember, like, I would get excited for the BET Awards or
Every
the
year.
Grammys every year because I'm like, all right, cool. Especially, I don't know, like the summer of 03, summer 2003.
Gosh,
was a fun year for music. Like, you had Beyonce release Crazy in Love. Oh my God. I'm like, what? Then you had
Confessions, y'all.
What's that?
Confessions. Usher.
Confessions.
Let me
then you had of Confessions, and then Alicia Keys, which everyone knows.
Diary?
The Diary, like 2003 had albums. Christina Aguilera was on her strip tour with Justin Timberlake because he had just wrapped up or was doing his Justified tour for his debut album. I mean, music was crazy. Ashanti released Chapter 2 or whatever the name of her second album was. Like 2003 was a crazy year. So by default, the BET Awards are going to be fire that year. And then in 2004, the Grammys were amazing because all this great music, Beyonce, Dangerously in Love, and I mean, it was a crazy year.
Let's get folks real quick. You got to understand, you cannot miss the BET Awards growing up.
No.
You cannot. We lived where you cannot miss it. You couldn't afford to. If you liked music, everybody was talking about it. Yeah. You go to school, everybody talking about it because the awards are like on a Saturday. Yeah. It's like you come everybody. You see what Usher, you see what Beyonce on 50. It was a thing. And you kind of knew who was gonna win our album. Well, you know who you knew was gonna win. Like, man, I think such is gonna, and they win. You kind of, but nowadays you know exactly. You know somebody in the category. Like, why is this person? You know this person. Now, it was like you had like Usher, Alicia Keys, who else? Justin Timberlake. You had all these powerhouses in one category. You don't know who gonna win.
Yeah, you don't.
And nowadays, you know,
the brand has been cheapened. Like, like this year, certain artists have released their albums. One album in particular, I'm not going to mention it, was extremely controversial. But I already know that album, she's going to win best album because it happened in 2020. I think you know who I'm talking about, but her album, her artwork caused a lot of controversy, especially amongst a certain group of people. So and then Adele released, and don't get me wrong, like I love Adele. I love all these other artists that I'm mentioning, but it's like then you have like your Cardi B's, you have your Meg Thee Stallions, you have your Billie Eilishes and all these people, but it's like you already know who's gonna win. So it's like there's no
like the mystery of like not knowing who. Yeah. I like to know. I want to watch I haven't watched an award show. And I'm that dude where I'm that artist. I be getting mad when I be seeing people watch. Even my friends are like, why are you watching this? Yeah. Why are you campaigning this? Yeah. Like, why are you watching this? There's no need to watch this. We know how these things go. Yeah. I haven't watched an award show in years. And my mom was like, oh, baby, you're going to win a Grammy. I said, if I get nominated for a Grammy, I'm all for it. If I win it, cool. Any award that I win, I'm cool. I'm like, I don't care. Like if I win it, cool. But like I want to win it because I'm good, not because I'm like just I'm in a category of people that why am I in this category? Who? Why am I? You know what I mean? Like that. Like yeah, we know this person's gonna win. Like why? Like, I just want to win it because of my skill, not because it's a popularity kind. Like if I'm up against somebody who got a, I don't know, yeah, that dude album was a little better than mine. Whew, that was a good one.
You know what though? Like there's another category. There's another Grammy Awards that they have that's untelevised, and I don't know if you know that or not. Yeah, and that's where the real music is at, which is crazy. It's because my professor, Dr. Bogle, he was my music theory professor and was my orchestration professor in college, and he actually won a Grammy back in '92 for his work that he did way back then, way back when. And so, and I didn't know this until he told me that there's a whole nother, and the last Grammys he was at, I believe this last year's Grammys and or 2021 Grammy Awards, I think he was at, because he's always there. And so yeah, so there's another like category, there's another whole category where they actually have talent. And I'm not saying that the
I
televised,
hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
yeah, and I'm not saying that at all, but it's like, I mean, I know Tori Kelly, who's one of my favorite artists. She won three Grammy awards for her album, for her gospel album that she released in 2018. Well, in 2019, at 2019's Grammy Awards, she was at the untelevised version where she won 3 awards. And so I'm like, wait, why are they like separating? But I guess I get it, because those type of artists don't get as much, um don't do all the theatrics like
Oh,
the
that's what I'm about to ask. Do you think because it's entertainment? Let's keep it 1,000. It's all the Grammy Award shows is nothing but entertainment. Like that's all it is. It's like we're here to entertain. We're like how long the Grammy? Like an hour, 2 hours long.
2 hours, yeah.
So it's like all right, let's entertain these people for
Mhm.
because let's entertain them and y'all gonna see this. But the real stuff is like the stuff that you don't see. And that's like
Yeah, and that's the awards that my professor, Dr. Bogle, he was at. I think he went to 2 of them. He went to because the untelevised version happens earlier in the day on that Sunday, because like they normally do the Grammys on a Sunday. Um, so that is like at like 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then like the main one starts at 7 to 10 or whatever. So that's like the main one. But yeah, it's crazy. So I actually submitted Evolution of Love to the Grammys in 2020, and I had Dr. Bogle help me out with that. And it was submit because I don't think I could submit it because I wasn't like a part of the academy, I think.
you know what? That's funny you say that. 'Cause I knew somebody, a good friend of mine. That's like who's like a brother to me. He was a part of the, I think it's called the Grammy U, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was a part of it, but he blew the opportunity. You know, I'm not a part of the part that votes, but like if I stay in there long enough and work my way up, I can vote. Blew the opportunity, and I must have cussed him out the worst. Like feel like yeah, I ain't a part. Like how did you could have been rubbing shoulders with all these big time people? Like how do you blow an opportunity like that, man? You know, man, yeah, I was so mad. Like, bro, you had a golden opportunity. You could have been big time. Like you wanted to do all this stuff musically, but you blew the opportunity.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, I think there are other alternatives to the Grammys, because I know there's a lot of award shows for independent artists,
Yeah.
unsigned artists, and I won an award, World Songwriting Awards for Best Jazz Song, and that was really cool. I wasn't expecting that, but I submitted the song. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's just see what happens, and boom. And so I think there are other alternatives to the Grammys. I still would like to be nominated, just to be nominated. I don't care about winning, but just to be nominated is enough.
That'd be like
Because
Grammy nominated Nicole Marie. That'd be like, you didn't like you still that's Grammy. She was
Grammy
nominated for.
nominated, or even just to be a part of, because my vocal teacher, she won a Grammy for her work with Kirk Franklin. So the fact that I'm studying I'm taking vocal lessons when I was in college, my vocal teacher won a Grammy with her work with Kirk Franklin. So even just to be associated with something like that, like say like, okay, I may not be nominated for a Grammy, or you may not be nominated for a Grammy, but you collaborate on, Drake's album and
Man,
it's nominated. And so you can say, look, I co-wrote a song that was Grammy nominated. I won an award due to my collaboration with this artist or that artist. I think that's really cool.
thank you, said Drake. Let me tell you something. I ever got a chance to do anything with Aubrey, let me tell you something. I'm gonna be set for life. Like,
Yeah.
thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
thank you, Drake. I appreciate it, man. Like, yo, I ain't even gotta have a Grammy. Like, yo, just give me accolade. I just need that. You used to work with Drake, right? He did like, oh, for real. He's gonna work with you just for that. Oh, with Drake, yeah.
Yeah. And that's gonna bring in more opportunities too. Like Drake tells you, like Drake, is around his people, and say you produce the beat, and they're like, oh, I really like this beat on this album Drake did. Who was the producer? And they see your name in the credits, or he tells those people like, oh yeah, like, he produced it. So that's bringing you like a lot of like
A lot
income.
of business.
Yeah, a lot of business, a lot of income, and that's gonna
Them
grow.
prices gonna go up. Them prices got to go skyrocket.
Yeah, yeah.
Nicole Marie played piano on this song. Oh, her prices went all the way up now. She used to play piano, but this one now is this much.
Yeah, and I actually would like to work with some of my favorite artists. I've always wanted to meet Whitney Houston. Never got a chance to, because I had dreams I used to meet that I had one dream that I met her. And it was so cool, and I was like, oh, if I just get a chance to meet her, and sadly I never was able to do that. I would love to collaborate with Alicia Keys. I feel like I could that's like a whole that's a whole music degree. Just having you wouldn't even need a music degree if you like just having just one session with Alicia Keys. Like that's all the knowledge you would need right there. Like for me, since I play piano, like just to work with Alicia Keys, that'd be like really awesome. Let's see here. I'm trying to think who else. I would love to work with Tori Kelly. I think she's really cool. I really like Lettucey. Lettucey is great. She finally won her first Grammy Award in
Right?
2021 for her album that she released. I can't remember which albums, but she's finally getting her flowers, and I'm so happy for that.
Right? Like for me, like, I want to work with Wale. That's one of my favorite rappers.
Mhm.
If I could open up for either Drake or Wale, that would be like the dream. Like, they let me open up for them, because I know just being in the building with Drake ain't gonna be like, yeah. I may not get a chance to meet him. Say I open up for him, that's gonna open up a whole new lane of followers. Like, because if you pet what AT&T, not AT&T, what's that junk called? The AA Center.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have at least 100,000 followers. I'm like, okay, cool. These followers know I'm gonna go. Somebody gonna want to check me out.
that's so true. Um, And then, Nicki Minaj, I posted a story of her. Um, one of one of my followers had posted a clip of her, I think at like a convention or something, and she was talking about how major labels are. She was talking about this one artist who was dropped by this major label because I guess she wasn't popular enough, and so she was telling Nicki Minaj about that, and so like you know she listened to the girl's album and she said, wow, like yeah, she's really talented. And she listened to these other artists and she said, yikes, as in terms like, wow, like okay, I get why these labels are campaigning so hard for these certain artists because they're popular, or whatnot versus the talent. So I'm just like, does talent not even matter to these labels? I mean, honestly, and I think that, you know, record labels are gonna go obsolete pretty soon
Oh, can we
because
talk about it? Please, let's talk about
what's that?
it. I said, oh yeah, we got to talk about that. We got to talk.
Yeah, I think labels are gonna be obsolete pretty soon. Like, I mean, it's not gonna happen like immediately, but I know record labels are like they know what era we're living in. They know that you can release a song on TikTok or YouTube and blow up instantly and wouldn't even need a label.
No,
They they're aware of that, and so you know, I used to want to be signed by a major label. Um, I actually used to want to be signed by Bad Boy Records if given the opportunity, but I'm glad that didn't happen because
man.
that's a whole nother podcast. But um I think like I used to want to get signed by major labels when major labels were needed. Like growing up in the 2000s and the early 2010s, like that's when major labels were still needed. Um, but yeah, like labels, they don't care about talent anymore. It's like they care about your numbers. That's all they care about if you're popular or not.
Right. And it's funny that you say about labels. There's two things. I remember back in the day on the CDs. If you look on the CD, they have the number to the record label on it. There's like icon. Who was Usher signed to? The Face? I think it was on the Face.
Yes.
So I'm like, I gotta get one of these labels numbers. And I was just like, let me see. I was just looking. I saw the number on the side. Like, oh snap, the number's on here. I'm like, I called it immediately. I got to the front desk. I'm like, hey, hello, this is the Face. How can I help you? I'm like 16 years old, 17. I panicked. I hung up the phone. But like, it's like, but that's back in the day when you needed labels. Nowadays, like you said, labels are gonna be obsolete because I told a friend of mine who's hell bent on getting signed to a label, like, bruh, you don't need a label no more. You are the label now. All you gotta do is put your music on DistroKid, and there you go. You don't need a label. You really don't need it. Like
Mm-mm.
I feel like record labels and big time studios are nothing but flexes. It's like, okay, I want, we even talked about it. Like you can literally get signed to a label and they drop you. You don't need a label. Like I told you, like Russ, he just 2 years, like a year or so ago, he did Chomp 2. He said he put out a line of credit for $500,000. And he's like, I could pay it off today, but why not? I just let it draw interest and yada yada yada, invest the money and just do what I want with it and just whatever. I'm like, wow, that's not a label. Like you don't need labels, like because the people that are who should be signing labels don't get signed. And by that time, if Nicole Marie is such a big time indie artist, she's building up her brand, and she's selling out House of Blues show. Like she do a show on House of Blues, and every time she does it, she sells out. Boom. Oh, every time June 88 does the show at the Granada Theater, he sells it out. Boom. Every time he does it, not the little place. I'm talking about the main room. Every time you
Yeah.
sell that out. Wow, who is this guy? Who is this girl? We need him. They come knocking on your door. They say, like, I don't really want that. They all it is a cash grab. They want you to bring in the money. But then the twist about the labels is they give you that same 500,000. You don't get it. That album don't do what it's supposed to do. I forget who else was it. Who was talking about it? It's like, yo, you still in debt for that same album you did in 2017. We need that money back. You still ain't paid us back. We still, T-Pain said, you still ain't made money off that last album. They let you do another album, but you ain't still ain't made money off the first album. You still owe us 300,000 on that other album. And you still behind. Like it's like you know you're trying to get off a contract saying your label got you on lot. No, you still owe money. That's not letting you go. And like the indie way is like, but at least you only thing about being independent without a label is you gotta budget out everything. You gotta know, all right, you gotta budget, all right. How much I want to spend on this project? Okay. $2,000 is that's what I want to spend. That's probably fair if you just probably look. That's probably fair. Cool, you know where you at. Video shoots, the most gonna be in the video shoot and the photo shoot. Depends on who you're working with.
Yeah.
Studio time, beats. If you're buying your beats like on BeatStar, you know, if I produce on YouTube, go to the BeatStar. You can get beats, and they got deals on beats if you want to. If you want to buy the whole beat out, if you want to exclusive license the beat, you can do that too. Everybody gonna have the beat, but whatever. Tomato, tomato. But like it's you get more for your buck independently because you know all your money's going. You may be spending a lot more money, but if like I say, it goes back to the merch thing. If you're selling merch and everything, we do shows, you're doing your own independent shows, you get a kickback on the ticket sales. All right, cool. I can recoup. If you can recoup, that's always better. That's why I say, why do people want labels? It's a hassle.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I feel like labels ain't nothing but a house. I just feel like people just want to get signed. Just say, oh, I'm signed to this Rockefeller. I'm signed to this label. I'm signed to this. I'm signed. But why? For what?
Yeah, I think, like label. Okay, so I was, I used to watch Dreamgirls a lot when it came out. I still watch it every now and then. But there's a scene where Beyonce's character and the other girls are singing, and the lady who's playing Beyonce's mom, Jamie Foxx's character, they're like the Dream Girls, like they're on stage performing or whatever, and Jamie Foxx's character is talking to, I think Beyonce's character's name was Dina, I believe, and so the mother, Dina's mom, and Jamie Foxx's character were talking, and she was saying, I never knew how talented my daughter was, blah 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 blah, and Jamie Foxx was going in on like kind of like how he plans on like selling Beyonce's character and the girl, but really Beyonce, because the story, she was like more the forefront of the group. And so he had said something in the line, and then the woman who was playing Beyonce's mom, had said something like, you make her sound like she's a product. And Jamie Foxx's character goes, product, yeah, I like that. And then the woman gives him a look like, wait, my daughter is not a product. She's a human being. So I know a lot of, not a lot, all major labels look at their artists as a product. Like, okay, I don't know, I have this bottle of water. I have this
Right?
bottle of water. How can I sell this water to make it nice and marketable and profitable? Like, a lot of artists, I mean, a lot of all these major labels, they look at their artists not as a human being, but as a product.
Yep.
So because it's like you're basically, if you don't like working for other people, I know I don't. I can't do the 9 to 5, but if you don't like working for other people, I look at it like, as an artist, you're still working for other people, because you have these people who are over your head and telling you what to do, how to do it, and you don't really have that freedom. Like, I remember when one of my first classes as a music major, it was a music business course, and my Professor Mr. Dismore, he showed us a contract, a real recording contract. It was a 12 album deal, and the artist was stuck in this 12 album deal. Now, this was in 2010. I don't know when this happened, but this class, yeah, I know. I started
Hold on.
um
Hold on. Wait.
12 album deal, and I don't know how long ago it was, because the class took place in the fall of 2010, but I don't know when
How
the
do
con-
you even
I don't know what year the contract was from, basically.
know what I'm saying? Like 12 albums?
It was a 12 album deal, and the label was able to lock it. It was a female artist, whoever she was able, like, they locked her in for 12 albums. So she couldn't get out of that 12 album deal. Kind of like, I don't know if you know JoJo's story, where she was signed to Aaliyah's uncle's label, Blackground Records. I don't know, like, if this was similar, but they basically found a way to lock her in the contract, which is why she went on hiatus for so many years. People thought she had quit music. That's when she was releasing a lot of mixtapes, a series of mixtapes from like 2010 to like 2012 or whatever. And so they had locked her in the label in the contract, and she was finally able to break free in 2014 2015. So from the time that she was signed to Blackground Records back in 03 04, she finally got out the contract in 2014. That's like almost 10 years, 11, 9 10
Mm.
years. So and I don't know where I was going with that, but I was trying to make a point. But you
I
know,
feel it happens.
it happens. But yeah, like labels, they look at artists as a product and not as a human. And I often wonder, okay, when Christina Milian's album was released in 2006, because I remember I think it was called It's About Time, or she
I remember
had
that
that
album.
she had that one song with Young Jock or Jeezy, that one
Yeah, I
pop.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that album, the day that she released that album, Def Jam Records dropped her because of Rihanna. Because they knew, they were like, okay, which artist is more profitable, Christina Milian or Rihanna?
That
Let's
was
go with Rihanna. So that the day that Christina Milian's album got released, they dropped her. And I'm like, so I often wonder, because it's like, okay, labels, you can't really blame an artist if here's my thing. You can't blame an artist because if their album sales aren't up to par, because I mean, whose fault really is it, especially if you're controlling the artist's sound? Like if you want this artist to have a bubblegum pop sound, and the artist wants to do R&B, but you're making them, you have creative control over that artist, and they don't want to do pop, they want to do R&B. So when that pop album gets released, it doesn't do well because the artist wasn't connected with the project,
right,
and that just doesn't fit with that artist's sound, and you want to blame the artist because the record sales wasn't up to par. But it's like, you can't blame an artist. And that's what happened to Christina Aguilera when Genie in a Bottle was released. She didn't like that album. She wanted to do R&B, but RCA wanted her to do pop because that was the sound around that time. Same thing happened with Pink. When her first album came out, it was R&B, and then she went pop and rock music. She didn't want to do R&B. She wanted to do pop and R&B. I mean, I think maybe she wanted to do R&B, but I think LaFace Records, they kind of had a little bit more control over the time or whatever. But after her first album, she went into a whole nother direction. So it's like, you can't blame artists if album sales are horrible.
right. And I feel like with some artists, and how you say if they're a product, they're expendable. They like, I take this out, I put I can. I used to think like, I look at especially music, like, how could I remember at one point in hip hop, Ludacris was the biggest rapper in the world. Then fast forward, he just disappeared. He
Yeah.
went on to the moon, he disappeared. Like one time, and a lot of people may not know this, the younger generation may not know this. At one time, Usher was the biggest R&B artist in the entire world. He dropped 87 on one, then a year later, he dropped Confession. He ate off Confession for 6 years almost. That came out of, what year did it? I think about 6, 7 years. He didn't drop nothing. He ate off Confessions for a long time.
Yeah.
Now nobody even talking about Usher no more. It's like it was one point where some artists be the biggest artists in the world, and they just die down. They just phase that person out. Start pushing the new artist. Start pushing it. Like, where did this artist even come from? Like I really be saying, like, where did this person come from? I never heard of him. Oh, you don't listen to such and such? Who's that? Even when I was like, you don't want to sound like the old person in the room. Like, even back when I was in my 20s, like, who is this person? I never heard of this person. Like, where did they come from? Like, you be trying to figure out how did they get, then they the biggest thing in the world. Like, where did they come from? Like, how did they find this person? And then they make so much money off of that. They sell that cow, get a new one, milk that cow, they can't milk them, sell it, get another one. Like, man, y'all like this. It's a factory.
It's like a revolving door nowadays,
It
because
is.
like that is like, okay, you don't want to sound old, but it's like, okay, who is that? You know, like I know I don't listen to radio anymore. I think the last time I used to listen to the radio, I was listening to it very briefly in 2016, which is how I was able to figure out what the current sound was at that time and still is to this day. But the last time I listened to radio religiously, I think I want to say it was maybe 2008, 2004, 5, one of those years.
I
And
could tell you.
so yeah, and so like with radio, again, no one really cares about the radio stations anymore.
Let me tell you, shit.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember when I stopped listening to the radio. I remember the exact day. Whatever year Mario's uh, breakup with Gucci and Sean Garrett, that joint
Mhm.
came out. I remember the day I stopped listening to the radio because they played that song 15 times back to back. I
Yeah.
was on 97.9 the beat. I switched to K104. They swear they played that song. I can't take this no more. And I had a radio sitting right in that corner. And I said, I plug my. I'm not listening to this no more. I can't take this no more. Like I used to listen to the radio every day. I'm like, I can't. This is just too much. I haven't listened to the radio in like God knows how long. I mean, when I'm riding with people, the radio on, but in my free, I don't listen to the radio. Like you don't.
Yeah.
Nah,
No.
it's too much of the same stuff on there.
Yeah, no. I think nowadays it's just like, I was in a writing session, or I was in a listening session back in the summertime, and it was a song that I was working on. I'm still working on with this writer in Australia, for for sync, for a possible sync placement. And I had a live drums on the song, and it was still in its drafting stage or whatever. And so one of the consultants, the sync consultant, she mentioned to me, she said, yeah, I think maybe if you got some military drums in there, or some since it's a song about wartime, it would be good if you had more modern sounding drums. And I went, okay, that sounds great. And then I was thinking about it later on, and I said, wait, modern sounding drums? Because I guess she felt like the drums were dated. But it's like, okay, at the same time, all of these young artists, these Gen Z, these artists who were born in like 1999 or 2004, all these artists who are coming up, they have a more retro sound that we grew up listening to. Like a lot of these artists are going back to the early 2000s R&B. A lot of these artists are going back to 90s R&B,
They go
90s.
back to '80s.
So
The
it's just
weekend.
going back to the 80s, and there are some artists that I really love listening to because they have a 70s sound, which I love.
Yes,
I'm a fan of 70s music, 70s R&B. So, but I said that to say, because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. You want more of a modern sound, but everyone's doing retro sound. So it's like, make it make sense.
because the weekend that Save Your Tears. That's '80s. No, that's
That's
early
80.
the '80s. And what's the other joint he had? He has another joint that he
Hold on
had.
1 second. My battery is about to die, so I don't want to lose all this. My laptop is running low on battery.
Okay.
We'll be able to like edit this out, right?
Yeah, yeah, you good, you good, you good, you good, you good, you good.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Take your time, take your time.
Okay, I forgot about this because I was using my laptop last night, and it didn't occur to me that my battery's low. Okay, that's better. Okay, so continue what you were about to say.
Like what's he got blinding lights. Like the weekend doing a lot of songs that sound like it's from the '80s.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the sound that's coming back. And it's in common, like how you said people like a more retro sound, a more modern sound. Like when people tell you something like that, I remember I told Cole that I'm not the best singer. I can sing just enough to get my person that's singing on my songs to do their own spin. And I had two artists, two dope singers do this to me. I sent them a song and they sent the song right back to me with my voice still on it. And they just did harmonies to it. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, man, hey, yo, man, you sound pretty decent, man. Yo, what are you talking about? Like, me? Are you sure? Like, you listen to the same man? Like so then I said, redo it. Then I sent it to my boy Jupiter, who's on my song Night Rider. Same thing. All he did was put harmonies under my voice. And it sounded, I still got the comment, man, that sounded pretty good. Like, but he said, man, you got a good voice, man. You got a nice little voice on you, bro. And I ain't gonna tell you this. I wouldn't lie to him. Like, said, man, you need to quit. I like, man, screw it. So I tried doing it on my song Location, and people like, yo, you sounded pretty damn decent on that joint. Like,
Yeah.
and that was just, and I literally did that. No, I just did that just, I mean, let me just do it just to do it and see what happens. They got to write up in Central Track. They got to write up about, like, oh snap. I got a whole write up. I got that write up in Central Track, and I got a whole spread on my birthday. Like, oh snap, a whole Q&A. So that song got my foot in the door. Like, oh, thank you. And like, when you take people's advice, when you take like, but I said to say this like that modern sound, like you like maybe that modern drum, whatever she like, yo, it may work, but then she may hear like, man, maybe she'll go back to what it was before.
Yeah, and I think too, like the music industry is so weird like that because what may work in this area of the industry may not work in that area of the industry. So that's what and again, I didn't get offended by it because like I said, like, I mean, it's not like a song I'm gonna release per se. I mean, I might release it, who knows? But I mean, it's fully produced now. It's like all polished now. I just got to add the vocals on it and whatnot. But I mean, yeah. So, but I do see what she was mentioning now that I hear the song in a different form. It's like, oh yeah, that does make sense actually. So, but again, I just think really at the end of the day, people's opinions, especially in the music industry. I had a professor in my recording class. He said, we work in an opinion based music industry. So it's like you can only take so many opinions before you can figure out what works for you. Because what these people may not like, this group of people may like, and vice versa. But even at the end of the day, you just have to really try to remain true to yourself as an artist, whether it be you're a songwriter, whether you're a producer, whether you're a performer. You can't intake every single opinion because you'll just go crazy. I did that before. I tried doing that before, and it wasn't a good outcome for me.
Yeah, I remember T-Pain said the same thing. He said one time he never let the label pick his songs. He never let them pick the singles. And he said if y'all remember the group called One Chance from way back, like early 2000, like 2007, 2008, they had a brief run. They were Usher's group. And I guess whatever happened, it didn't work out. And he signed them. And he had a song that was for them. But the label, he said, the one time I let the label pick the song, it didn't even do good. Like that song wasn't even for me, it was for them. And I was wondering, I seen the video, like, why are they in this video? Like, the video didn't make it didn't make no sense at all. The song it's a pretty okay, it's a pretty good song, but it's like the video didn't make no sense. Them being in the video didn't make any sense. Nothing made sense. And when he said it, I'm like, you know what? I could see them singing that song. It's like the labels picked a song. Like, we want that song to be the single. Like, I don't think that song. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be in control of what you gotta be able to be like, yo, let me. And that's the thing. Goes back to indie. Like, you can pick your singles. I'm gonna put that one out. This is the one I want to put out. And you ain't got nobody over your head like, nah, we like this one. But yeah, I like that one. But no, this one. But this one is gonna be no, this is gonna be the one. Then when it flop, like, see, we should have went with the other one.
Yeah,
And now they
you can't
mad
really.
at you.
Yeah, now they're mad at you. Now they want to drop you, but it's like that's not fair at all
It's not.
to artists. Like, I mean, especially like I know before an artist released, I don't know, like this is how it was back in the 2000s and days, years past. I don't know if it's still like this now, but I remember artists whenever they would finish recording an album, sometimes it would be like a 12-track album, but they've recorded like 30, 40, 50 songs to see which one fits. And then they present that in a meeting at the label, and then they decide which one works or not. Or if all the songs are trash, you got to go back to the drawing board again. And I think that's crazy too. But I think what I took away from that was it's like as an independent artist, you can record as many songs as you want, and then when you're done with the recording, you can finally say, okay, which songs would match, you know, which songs would be more successful than the others. Like I have about 20 some odd songs that I've recorded or more. Well, that I've recorded. And yeah, I mean, I could have released those songs, but which songs are going to be better suited for this release or for this time or for another artist for that matter. So, but yeah, no, I think, labels as an artist, it's like you can record all these songs and present it to the label, and then if they don't like it, boom, it's like, well, what? Because I know will.i.am, I think when Black Eyed Peas first got their start, think because I remember will.i.am was talking about it and the days how it was such a struggle for them to get good music that the label liked, because every time they created something great that they knew in their heart was great, but the label didn't, it was frustrating to will.i.am. And I remember reading that and I was like, dang, like that's how it works. And at this time, I'm like 18, 19, just graduated from high school, just started college. And I'm like, dang, really?
It's twisted.
So,
I
yeah.
remember I was watching, I like documentaries. I'm a documentary kind of guy. I saw a documentary on the Backstreet Boys, and it was talking about how the group started. Like, okay, now, in the 90s, people just pop up. NSYNC is on your TV. You know how long they've been together. You don't know how long they're there. But the backstory, like, yo, Howie D was supposed to be the original lead singer, but they gave it to Brian. Howie, like, I was supposed to be lead singer, but they said Brian is the guy. He's like, all right, cool. And they was talking about, they was like, on this neck. Now, I forget when the documentary came out, like, they working, also show, like, on this new project they're doing, whatever at the time, they all, because everybody in the group could sing, like, they wanted to, like, let everybody get time to shine. I'm like, it took, like, and you find out how the labels work, you get dropped from a label, you keep pitching songs, and this song and that song, and this, like, you would go back and re-record albums. That's why people like Michael and Prince and all these old groups have all these songs you've never heard before, because they were just recording, and 540 some songs, and they got to chop it down to like 12. Like, and these other songs are just in a vault somewhere, never going to be heard from again.
Yeah.
And they said Prince got videos that he recorded, full productions that he never released.
Wow.
Just
Yeah.
stuff that he never released. Like, nah, I'm not putting it. I just did a whole video. I'm not gonna put it out.
Yeah. No, I could actually see Prince and Michael Jackson, and those type of artists having so much music that we haven't even heard, that we'll probably never even hear, for that matter.
But yeah, like I said, I don't like record labels. The only way I'll sign to a label is, like, I think I even told you this one too, unless I gotta hit a plateau where I need to get to another level. Like the indie grind, like, all right, man, you just keep getting that same level. Like, I gotta get over that now. I gotta get there. Like, that's the only way I'll see myself signing to a label. But even if it did, I have to work it out where I can still do my thing, where I don't have no machine, like distribution. Like, like it had to be something where it fits what the needs I need to have. Like, I don't want to be on a label, just I'm on a label. And that's how I fussed at my partner. Like, why are you trying to be on a label so bad? Like, just to say you want a label, just to say you signed to whatever. Like, man, you don't need that. Like, we don't need a label. Like, for what? Give me a good reason why, then I would consider it. But if you can't tell me, if your only reason to get signed to a label so you can like be stress free, like somebody you're paying, you're like, all right, cool, you get to work here, you get to do this. But when your check comes, you got $25. Now where my money came, where my money? Oh, you had to pay. Oh, you wanted Metro Boomin? Boom, he had to get it. You wanted just he got a check. You wanted a Beyonce feature? Boom. You wanted Drake? Boom. That all that money is gone. Like when you finally get to what you got, $25, and you just bought a big house that you can't afford.
Yeah.
Remember that video? You want all them girls you wanted to video? They had to get paid. That person had to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever I don't know who the back in our day was Hype Williams, Little X was the people doing the videos. So
Yeah.
now you're like, where my money? Remember that video? Remember that? Remember all that stuff you wanted to do? Yeah, $25. Now you're looking like, what I'm gonna do? Like, yeah. And the label got to get their kickback. Now you stuck. Now you
Yeah.
selling stuff.
Mm-hmm. So now, like, then after all is said and done, it's like, was it really worth it? But
Nope.
yeah, no, it wasn't. So, I mean, that's just a lot to to take away from, for anyone who may be watching, who may be considering to, sign to a label, or if there's like an impressionable, teenager who is like, oh, I want to be this big artist. You can, but you know, the labels, being signed to a record label isn't like the they're not your only way to get into the music industry. Like,
It's not.
it's
And I
not,
want I
there's
want people to take that away. I want people to take that away from us today. Like if they learn anything from like, no, just no, it's not. It's not. It's the label. Not getting signed to a label is not the end all be all. Like it's like sometimes you gotta just like it's hard work. Like I said earlier, the budget. That's the only thing that we can we can tell you. Like it's the budget part. Like you got a budget your stuff out. Don't go. I want to spend 2,000. That's my cap, and just have that because you ain't got to worry about paying that back to them because it's your money.
yeah.
And the label, you spend somebody else's money that you got to pay back.
Hmm.
Like going to a loan, a payday loan, getting that loan, and the interest rate ridiculous. Like, man, I ain't never gonna be able to pay this money back. That's somebody else's money they giving you to fund something that you need to be funded.
Yeah.
If it's your money, all right, cool. I want to do this, this, and this. All right, cool. And if you don't recoup, I mean, okay, whatever, but at least you know it's I blew this money and this is what it comes from. But like I don't it's like but you sell it, you work on this project for a year, put it out, that you get ready to put out the label, like, we don't like it. Oh, we don't like it, but we're gonna keep it though.
We're
It's
gonna keep.
ours. But you're good. But thank you for your time. All right. But I don't get the nah. And if you and the music you do have, if you release it, we're gonna sue you.
Yeah. And that's why artists like JoJo, where she actually re-recorded her first two albums, because since she didn't have control over her first two albums, she re-recorded it because that was a way to navigate around that whole contract. And I think that that's the same thing. I'm not sure if that's why Taylor Swift did that with her first or second album that she re-released. But that's why I don't know if you've been paying attention. I don't know if JoJo and Taylor Swift are the only artists who are doing that. But as a way to navigate around that contract, you can at least, if they have control over your first album and you can't release it, or if you can't even perform it, you can redo the music, you can re-record the music, because it's not the actual original product or album. So but I think now, like, labels have been seeing major artists doing that who have been locked into their contract. Now labels are like, oh yeah, you can't do that anymore. You can't re-record your own. Yeah. And I remember reading an article about that, I believe last year, where labels are like, oh, okay, so that's what y'all want to do. Yeah, no, you can't do that anymore. You
I
can't
know
even,
Sammy, he did that.
yeah.
Sammy, he did the same thing. Like I actually had, I remember that album he did like in like what year was it? Oh 06, oh 07, oh 06, oh 07. I remember because yeah, oh 06, oh 07. And I actually bought that. It's a good album. It was a good album. But after he dropped that, he just disappeared. Like he just disappeared out of nowhere. And I heard his backstory. Like something happened where his manager was like blowing his money, some stuff like that. And one day I was looking for the album on Spotify, like you couldn't find it anywhere. I'm like, all right, whatever. Then I seen who was it? Swizz Beats. He reposted it. Oh, he re-released it. It was the same album remastered, and he did like some tweaks to it. Like he like some of the song, the joint he had "Come With Me." He made it more like a, I can't even explain. Like it was a more tempo. It was the same song, like upbeat, like kind of like he made it like super pop. Like you could like dance to it, like groove to it. Like okay, I see the direction he went in with it, but I didn't know what you said. Like wow, they re-releasing it to get it. I like, okay, I see what you're doing now. I'm like, oh, that's why he did it.
Yeah, it's
because you can't find an original album nowhere. Like he re-recorded it. Like that's
yeah, and then at that point, you know, labels they can't get sales from that because it's a re-recorded version, so they don't technically have the rights to it as they would if it was the original or whatever. But I think that's all the time we have today. We've been running for about 1 hour and 56 minutes. I think I'm gonna probably break this down into 2 parts, maybe. I'm not sure. I think I'll do that. But thank you, June's 88. It was
no problem. I had a good time
talking to you about like all things music. I mean, we covered Spotify, we covered COVID, we covered Bandcamp, we covered the Grammys and the labels and all that. And I think it was a really great first episode for my launch of my podcast, For the Record podcast. Thank you again for coming on to the show with me. I appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll be back. I'll be back for another episode next week where I'll be talking about more diving into what it takes to release a song and how to prepare for that instead of just releasing the song. Like there are steps needed to take. So I'll talk about that on the next podcast. But thank you so much, Tony, for joining me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No problem.